Hello and welcome to another episode of the Campus Podcast, the only podcast sponsored by The Dice. I'm joined again by my co-host, Meg.
Hello.
And I'm Clayton. And today we have an equally special to all other episodes, another episode of the podcast. Today I was thinking we'd talk about tabletop RPGs. Have you played tabletop RPGs, Meg?
Probably not as many as you.
That's right, everyone. I'm a huge nerd. I've played a lot of them. I have a shelf beside me with several different games on them already. But you've played you've played the big ones like D&D and Pathfinder, I believe, right?
I've played a couple of times. I would definitely say I'm a beginner to the whole world of Dungeons and Dragons.
That's fair. And that's entirely reasonable. I mean, it's gotten very, very popular in the last few years, specifically thanks to Matthew Mercer's Critical Role and Brennan Lee Mulligan DMing for Dimension 20. Not to discredit all of the other amazing DMs in those shows and that space.
No, I think there's been a lot of big things like that. Obviously, Stranger Things, when that came out, the kids were obviously playing D&D at the start of the series. Then the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie came out. Baldur's Gate 3 came out. So there's been a lot of big influences, and then everything's sort of just spread from those droplets in the world, so to speak. And the ripples are now everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Baldur's Gate 3 is huge. If you weren't interested in D&D and then you played Baldur's Gate 3 and were like, oh, that was really fun. I like that. You're into D&D. You've been bamboozled by Karlach.
It's a good putting someone on a bike with training wheels style D&D, because it sort of does everything for you without you having to worry about it too much. But it gives you the freedom of the character customization, the classes, the abilities you can get, and how they affect your stats. But then the game just does those for you, so it's not like you have to sit and go, oh, I need to do math now.
Yeah, no, it's just really straightforward. It just kind of does it for you. You get to pick the cool abilities, and then you get to just keep playing, which is a really, really good user-friendly way to get people into D&D. Because I think we were talking before about the difficulty of trying to build a character for D&D with using online resources and being oh, there isn't any.
Yeah, there's not as much as there should be.
Yeah, you think there'd be a ton of user available stuff online. I know that Wizards of the Coast has their whole official D&D online app and services, but the problem is sometimes those don't really meet your needs, or the fact that they require purchases. Because first and foremost, D&D is pretty much, if one person pays for the book, 5 to 6 people can play the game with no issue.
Yeah.
So it's always hard when it's oh, we've kind of price gate kept it to make it that you have to pay a little bit more to get in on what is essentially my favorite part, which is character building.
Yeah, I'm probably maybe speaking of something that already exists, but I feel like there should be more digital based packs that have sort of everything you need in them. So the map packs and stuff like that, and then it can be easily integrated into something exists, like Roll20, for example. Because yes. Roll20 is a free thing, but unless you're willing to sit, build your own stuff and implement it into it, like you say, you have to pay for stuff. So it would be nice for there to be a way to have a couple of beginner packs that you can acquire. Maybe as a reward scheme for using the service. Maybe you collect points or something, and over time you can use those to unlock other packs.
Okay, yeah, I get
a loyalty system thing.
yeah, like if so, I don't. I wonder if it is the case. I'm going to look. I'm
Hmm.
almost certain that if you buy a D&D book, like
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like if you buy the book, you get like the digital stuff, but at the end of the day, I don't know whether that's something that then can be just easily implemented onto a software already, or whether you'd still have to do that work yourself. Because there's a lot of people like, for example, me that like I'd obviously I'm trying at the moment to DM, and I have done 2 campaigns, but I've the bit that holds me back the most is implementing the stuff into the software to be able to play it is the weakest point for me. Obviously I can come up with the stuff I want. You know, I've been finding things through friends that have told me about, you know, a good place to get like somewhere to make maps. So that kind of stuff is getting easier as well. But the it's implementing it onto the software so then we can all jump onto said software and play the game that is definitely my weakest area still.
yeah, fair enough. No, it's so I did just look it up. Apparently, no, at least as of a Reddit response 2 years ago, um, there's no way if you buy a physical D&D book, you don't immediately get a digital copy for like their app D&D Beyond,
Mm.
which feels silly. Like if I bought the book, it should give me like it should just come with a code in it that's a one-use code and I can add it to my D&D Beyond account. But that is a personal opinion.
Yeah, because
It's
but thinking beyond just D&D now, how much stuff is going digital and not giving you physical stuff? But then
well,
like this is
books
holding
are
so much onto the physical aspect of it, which isn't awful because obviously wanting to own the physical thing in front of you is good because it's like this is my copy, no one can take this from me now. But then if you've got friends that don't live in your country and you're like, I think these guys would really like this campaign, would sure be great if I could have a digital version that I could share with them online so we could all play together.
I know for like when I grab a digital tabletop RPG I want to mess around with, I'm a sucker. I will usually buy a like physical and digital combo because the digital usually goes through like Drive Through RPG is a site I use quite a bit. They're really good, and like you can just go there, browse, get a ton of stuff, and they have sales very consistently. Ooh, Fantasy Star! I love Fantasy Star. See, there's always something to see.
It's too
But
late. We've lost him, guys. He's no
yeah,
longer in charge of this podcast.
no, I'm sorry, you've lost me. I looked at the drive-through RPG best-selling titles and sales. Oh, Daggerheart's on there. Way to go. That's the like Matthew Mercer Critical Role company tabletop RPG, right? Daggerheart.
I'm just going to assume you're correct because I don't know that. I'm like so far off the radar with like Critical Role stuff. The only thing I have literally watched is the Critical Role show that was on Prime. I haven't like seen I haven't seen the actual campaign. And it's one of those things where it's
Oh,
just like I would like to, but I feel like it's something that it's almost like One Piece to me right now. Like it's so
there's
far
so many.
advanced. It's like, can I even watch this all before I die?
I believe in you.
I mean,
But
not
no, I
gonna say,
absolutely do that.
yeah, not to say that I haven't watched a D&D podcast specifically. I'm just gonna drop name drop this in here. Not that we get a ton of views, but name drop it in there because it deserves a name drop. It's recently finished and it's absolutely fantastic. Murder She Rolled. Very good podcast. Really like it. It's just finished. 36 episodes. They're about an hour long. So it's not like a massive campaign, but it was just great to experience a group of people that have never played D&D before get just immersed in this absolutely fantastically built world by the dungeon master. It was just so good.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I figured like today we'd just talk about like tabletop RPGs, stuff we like and dislike, and what we kind of like look for in like tabletop RPGs. I figured I would pose that to you first. Like, what when you hear a tabletop RPG? Because I've DM'd for you twice, I believe now,
Yes.
twice or three times. I'm not 100%.
Twice. Soon to be 3 times. Smiley
Soon
face.
to be three times. Yep. And so I kind of have an idea of what you're looking for, but I figured I'd ask you, like, when you want to play a tabletop RPG, like, what are you looking for?
I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily like have to have specifics in it because I think for me the idea of not whether we're physically sat around a table or digitally sat around a table, so to speak, it's the idea of like being involved in something with a group, like being involved in a story or a scenario and sort of being swept up in it is what like is the bit that I enjoy the most. Whether that be like a one where like a haunted house scenario where you're trying to find your way out of a haunted house, or whether it's one of your campaigns where you've made a character and you have to travel across like the strategical story driven path that you've made for us that we're unaware of. It's the aspect of enjoying it with other people is what's fun, and I've still fortunately been able to enjoy that when I did my DMing twice, which I was slightly worried about. I was, as much as I was like sitting there thinking like it'd be great to make these stories myself, I was worried that by knowing everything that was going to happen, I was sort of going to take myself out of that sort of area that I'd become accustomed to in that short span of time, thinking I'm not going to be involved anymore. I'm just going to be like sort of sat back and observing. But fortunately for me, I still felt involved because they were trying to involve me. So
Yeah, no, it's kind of the fun part about DM because a lot of people get that idea of like, oh, it's me versus them, or they're playing and I'm basically chaperoning them. But I've never found that to be my feeling or case. Like, a tabletop RPG is a collaborative storytelling thing, essentially, with like mechanics. It's a game, and we're all here to have fun. And it's not that nobody wins in these games, but also nobody like loses. You can have a bad time, but if your character gets gravely wounded, and the DM goes like, "I need you to make a death saving throw," and you fail. Like, it's not that the DM goes and I've killed them, sucker. It's mostly just like, okay, your character bleeds out. What does the party do? Like, does the party want to try and revive them? Do you roll up a new character? Like, what happens next? It's always the what happens next that keeps the game kind of interesting, and it's the part I like about it. Is just anything that happens is where do we go from there?
yeah, like there was the obviously the scenario in one of my previous campaigns where one of the players decided he was going to pick up a demonic weapon as a human being. which you're remembering, obviously, Clay. Naturally, to a normal human being to pick up a demonic weapon from hell, quite hot. I did forewarn him of this, but he still chose to try and pick it up. So we had to obviously do a roll for damage. And he still attempted to try and pick it up again, but luckily everyone else intervened at that point. But it is a case of like, you know, you have to like account for these things. Like you say, like, you don't want to be like, you pick up the sword and you die.
Yeah.
So
No, because like, if you just go, you pick up a sword, you die. It doesn't lend you anything to like make the game interesting or do anything else.
I do feel like I like the idea that if they fail bad enough, coming up with a comedic way to punish them for it is good. Like seeing mostly posts, because I've never done it myself, like seeing people with posts where it's just like I'm gonna roll to hit this person. It's just like, man, I rolled a 2 and it's like rolled a 2 or like a 1. It's just like you hit and they're like, oh my god, that's awesome. They're just like, so I'm going to use this weapon with this amount of damage, so I hit for 20 points. And it's just like, cool, you slapped yourself in the face for 20 points. And it's like, I don't know if I could be that harsh.
Yeah,
but
that
it
does
sounds
sound
funny on paper.
Yes, it does sound very funny on paper, but yeah, that can be a little harsh when you're trying to go like, oh, what do I do now? oh, well, you slapped yourself in the face, and now roll to deal damage. Oh, well, I don't feel very good about that.
No.
But I was also wondering, like, mechanically, like, what kind of do you like tabletop RPGs that have like a lot of rules, or you're more of like a rules light person? Do you like more of the idea of how the role play works than specifically being like, oh, I like the game that tells me exactly what we do in these situations, and what we do in these situations? I think I have an idea of what you're going to answer, but I am curious.
Okay. I mean, personally, I don't mind because every campaign is different. If at the start you're sort of told how the campaign is going to go, or you get the idea of how the campaign's going to be, I'll just naturally adapt to what's happening. I think so. If it was a case of just like, oh, like there's very strict rules to follow with the with this specific campaign, I'd be like, right, okay, I need to bear these in mind. Like you can only like, let's say you can only move once and you can only attack once, or in like another campaign, it's just like, oh no, you can be a bit more like, we'll let you move and like attack, and if you've got a bonus action, you can do that too, that kind of thing. So it's like I will just try and adapt to whatever the campaign starts off being, and just like I say, because the thing that I enjoy the most is the togetherness of being with a group of people that all want to experience it together. So as long as that's there, it doesn't really matter how restrictive or how non-restrictive the game's gonna be. As long as everyone's having fun,
Yeah.
that's all that matters to me.
I think that I agree. Like, as long as the priority is having fun, no matter like what technically the rule sets kind of are, it it's still going to be like an enjoyable time as long as that's everybody's priority. But for me personally, I actually kind of like not rules intensive, but I do like having, especially when I'm DMing. Specifically, when I'm DMing, I like having more engaged rules, like knowing a lot more. Like, oh, if a player tries to do a backflip, is there like specific acrobatics things that we need to roll? Is there a bunch of nuances to how like landings work? I like having a bunch of rules.
Oh yeah,
I
like
like
yeah.
yeah. What were you about to say?
No, I was just agreeing with you of like I think depending on the situation that your character's in, like if for example, like I think when we've been in our campaigns before and it's just like I want to like backflip out the way of a guy that's trying to like swing a sword at me, and it's just like I'm in a ruin, so my brain's naturally thinking like there could be debris on the floor, so if he makes me roll for acrobatics to see if I'm going to land safely, totally understandable. Like I will naturally assume there's going to be some kind of like, especially if you want to do something absolutely bonkers. Like naturally you'd go, there's going to be a roll here to see if I can even pull this off.
Yeah, like I really appreciate like more rule intensive stuff because it kind of gives me like rails to know exactly what I'm doing, like as GM, but even like as a player, having like a large amount of like rules that have like nuance and stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, you can do this, but you can also spend your actions to do like this. Always makes me feel like there's like good choices I can make, and a bunch of stuff that like feels engaging, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that you can find a balance of like people feel like there's a lot of things they can do, but then they still have to like commit certain criteria to see if they can actually get them to work.
Yeah, it's why I probably get like drawn to like I've DM'd I think for you Pathfinder twice is the two things I've done.
Yeah.
Both were like custom campaigns. Oh, sorry. No, one was the Dark Souls tabletop RPG,
Yes.
which was modified D&D rules, which was an interesting experience because I think that was like the first time I had DM'd for you.
No, you'd done the pre-made one before that.
Oh, that means I've like done it three times. Yeah, because the pre-made one was the Pathfinder beginner box,
Yeah.
and that was like a fun campaign. It's very straightforward, very easy to do, um, but it also had a sandbox component, and as soon as we hit the sandbox component, I remember being a little like not overwhelmed, but like whelmed in general of like, okay, they have a bunch of stuff they could do, but like you guys could say, well, we want to do it like this, and I kind of have to on the fly ad lib and make stuff up, which isn't necessarily hard, but it can be when it's like something entirely unexpected, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I was thinking about that for the campaign that I'm currently making. I feel like I've got a decent balance of that, that there's enough stuff that people are going to feel like they have a lot of like freedom of choice to go and do what they want and go where they want to a point. But
Yeah.
but in the capacity that I'm prepared for like all the eventualities of what they may decide to do. So if they decide that they're not going to do A, B, C, they want to do D instead, and then they go to, then they've got the option of going to A, B, C, and they decide they want to go to A, B, or C under D rules, I'm still prepared for that fact.
Mm-hmm.
God, I hope so. I like I say, like I've tried to like make it so there's a component of like they can't go out of the restriction of the location, but there are locations in the location, and there are things to interact with in those locations. So there's enough of like they feel like they can decide what they want to do. But
Yeah, so like
I'm sort of like,
made
it's
like a
okay.
sandbox.
I've got plans for all eventualities.
I think that's a good idea because like you cannot anticipate everything. But if you do make enough like points of interest in your sandbox and like amongst the things that you make, um, that can really help like taper people from trying to leave the confines of the thing you built. Because if they're engaged, they don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Because I know when people like talk about these big, expansive, like wide worlds that they play in, I'd love to pick the DM's brain sometimes and be like, hey, I'm just gonna keep picking on Matthew Mercer because he's Mr. Well Known. Uh, when you like made your campaign, like how far in advance did you plan out and how wide did you plan? Like if someone said, "Oh, I'm leaving," and you go like, "Oh, where are you leaving to?" "I'm leaving the town. I'm just piecing. Do you have anywhere in mind?" "I'm walking west." "Oh." Like if someone just said, "I'm leaving and walking west," did you plan something out, or like you're he's very good at improv and very good at acting. I wouldn't be surprised if he could just ad lib some of that and say
Something
like, "Oh
into it.
no,
Yeah.
yeah," and just be like, "Oh, I've on the fly can make something up to be like, oh, okay, well, you've headed west, and west of the town you find like da 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 da," and like can just kind of free form keep things going with the intent of just how firm is his story, I guess, because obviously there's player agency and you can't just put people on rails because that's never fun. If that was the case, all play we'd play a video game, which is much more constrained. Because I think that's like the real difference between D&D and video games. So like Baldur's Gate, you can do so much in Baldur's Gate, but you are confined to the things that are available within in your act. So you can't just immediately go like, well, I'm going to leave the beach and try and swim to that island over there and make my way from there. It's like, well, no, you can't do that. You're confined by what the game has obviously been programmed to have. You can't just decide to do something the game isn't designed to let you do. If that makes sense.
No, yeah. It totally does, because I think that's the thing. Like, it's all about the how the DM manages to make it to the point where, like you say, they can either go on the fly, or the story is that compelling They're just pulled along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
And because that was the thing, like, I feel like going back to the Murder She Rolled campaign, the DM from that, which I feel really bad now, I went to say his name and his name is just gone from my head.
I hate that happens.
It does happen. He did such a good job of like breadcrumb trailing this like story that the players just instinctively like wanted to go to the next like location and stuff. You know,
David.
there were sort of like instances where they would be sort of like teleported from one place to another, so that sort of aspect was taken out of it. But after a while, the players were sort of knowing that they had to like go to these locations without the DM needing to say anything. Like, oh yeah, like we need to go here next. Like full well knowing that they had to, because as they were going through each location, they were actually like uncovering their individual players' sort of backstories as to why they were in the situation that they were, without spoiling the podcast too much for people that want to listen to it. So he did a good job of that. And then, like I say, because they were just naturally like, okay, we want to just keep going with this. He didn't really have to do much in the way of like, no, we need to do this. You can't do that. They were like, no, we actually want to do this. He's like, yeah, well, I want you to do that, so off you go.
It definitely is good when like players and GM just kind of mesh. It's like, oh, we want to do this. It's like, oh, that's perfect. That's what I wanted you to do.
To be honest, some of the stuff though that they were able to pull off against the DM, like roll wise and spell wise, that they had that he was just not prepared for, was just chef's kiss, man. It was beautiful. Like, he'd planned for all these like really cool scenarios, and then the players would just roll like a nat 20, and he's like, oh. You can just hear him in the background being like, oh, lovely, okay. So that plan failed.
Well, that is one thing of just like, you have critical successes and fails are so like important to the game, in my opinion. It's like, oh, I'd like to try and deduce who may have killed such and such, and you roll like a nat 20, and I got to go like, this needs to be rewarding. It doesn't happen all the time, but I don't want to straight up just be like, you figured out that it was Dr. Dusseldorf in the armory with the candlestick.
Yeah, you don't want to just give them the answer.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, if you just give them the answer, or they immediately just bypass a large section, like you go, oh, but you also got to like make it rewarding. So like if they roll a nat 20, you want to go, oh well, you can deduce and give them like lots of good information and all that stuff that, you know, that should be valuable or would be things that you would have held out instead. It's a tough fine line to draw, because again, rolling a nat 20, or in like some cases of D&D, I don't know, have you ever heard of the like deck of many things?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, it's basically a deck of cards.
Yes.
But it's specifically designed with a bunch of like conditions, items, and like other like just stuff that you can get or can have happen.
Okay.
And when you draw from it, you basically immediately get or have the thing happen. And like some of them are just busted.
Oh god.
Like, it's just broken. Because I remember a friend of mine was talking about, he rolled a deck of many things, and they were trying to like save the town, and I don't remember how the deck of many things ended up being part of it. I think they were just playing a game like with the intent of like, things are going to get chaotic up in here. So they pulled from the deck of many things, and immediately was like, the ending result of what happened was a like 5 mile long and like 4 meters wide line of anti-magic has just like sliced through this town.
Oh my god.
And they're like, okay, well, which way does it slice? And DM's like, okay, which way did you intend? Which way were you pointing? Yeah, like figure it out. And he goes, all right, you have sliced the cult I had placed under the church in half. Like just was just going through like all the things that this like deck of many things has done, and it's like, ooh, and he's like, oh no, it's fine. Like we are still able to go on. I just think it's very funny that you guys just vaporized everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that is very fun, but also I could see being like extremely frustrating if you're kind of like a person like me who likes like stringent rules and goes, all right, I cast fireball and have like made pseudo TNT. What happens? And I go, oh, you've blown the entire town up. No, please don't.
I mean, to be honest, I think that with like the campaign that I'm going for, I've sort of just gone for the fact that because I'm trying to make it so there's a lot of like choice, I've sort of had to sit with my mind and go, now I can't get upset if anything happens to anything in the campaign because of how I've made it. If they decide to be assholes and murder towns full of people, I have to accept it.
Yeah, especially because I don't know if you like did mention about like the custom tabletop RPG that you made relatively recently that I got to play in. It was really cool, and it was very very involved in a very neat way because you didn't play characters, we played ourselves in a game, which was very neat and a really good way to get people into role playing that might, not be totally comfortable or haven't done it before. I thought it was really cool. But like you said, like if somebody tries to pick up a demonic sword because hey, they want to pick up a demonic sword, you're just kind of stuck with it, right?
Yep.
You just kind of have to narrate like, okay,
there's only there's only so many ways I can describe the fact that it's literally made in hell, and you can hear it fizzing on the floor.
Yeah, like there's only so ways you can describe that and go, do you still try to do it? And they go, oh yeah. You go, all right, man. You try and pick up the flaming shish kebab of don't do that, please.
Yeah, basically. Oh dear. So
it was very funny. I still think it was funny when we're like, can we grab the sconces, like the flamed sconces on the wall? And you're like, no. And I'm like, well, how far? They're like, how far are they? It's like 6 meters in the air. I'm like, okay, well, we can probably like daisy chain ourselves and make a human ladder and try and grab it. And you're like, no, you can't. I'm telling you, you can't. I'm like, oh.
I had to do mama and put my foot down there. I was just like, no, you are not ruining the literally just for lighting ambience of the room. There is no point.
It was so funny. It was like, no, you are not doing that. Like, why not? It's like, I said so.
I said so. Oh my god.
Which did not stop us several times from trying to grab light fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
And being told each time, like, no, you can't have the light fixture. And I go, but what if it's important? I would tell you if it's important.
Oh god. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that one because, like I say, I had the idea first and then was like, okay, I need to think about trying to implement this into like the rules. And then as I was looking into it, and somebody else who was helping me like look at it was like, you're not going to be able to implement this into the rules. And I'm like, shit, you're right. God, so what do I do? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just going to have to make up new rules. And he goes, yeah, I guess you could. And I was just like, okay, well, I'll try and simplify them then and make them easier so there's less stuff. So I had to combine some to put them together, and then I was like, okay, then I was like, now I have to think of like items, and I'm like, considering they're just people, I can't give them like, here's the sword of Gryffindor or some shit. Like, I can't give you like overpowered magi weapons because that's not the point of it. The point of it was like the journey of going through and doing all of the different tasks and learning and understanding the tasks. So, but no one got to use the rubber duck.
No one got to use the rubber duck, and I missed out on several of my jelly beans of power.
I know. You know what was actually really funny though? Going back to the rubber duck, Apparently, it's an item in repo, which I didn't know about. Exactly the same as the one I made. It's a rubber duck that explodes. And I did not know that. So I did not steal that. They did not steal it from me. We just happened to have a fantastic idea around the same time. We can have creative geniuses together.
That's very funny to hear. It's like, we both thought of the same thing of exploding rubber ducks.
Yeah.
Hey, exploding rubber ducks, it's a solid idea.
It's a solid idea.
Yeah, totally. I was also wondering, like, what kind of characters, like, when you play a D&D or Pathfinder or any kind of class-based tabletop RPG, are there any, like, classes you're particularly drawn to? Are you, like, magic, melee? Do you like being the problem solver? Like, what do you like when you play a tabletop RPG?
I don't know. I mean, I think, at least for the two characters that you've actually seen in campaigns, which is my high elf druid and then my halfling swashbuckler, two completely different characters in personality, in styles of combat.
Yes, very different, both of them.
So, I think I'm just drawn to, like, I don't know, I just had an idea for, like, just mostly the personality of characters first, and then I think what would fit the personality.
Yeah, and then just kind of worked from there about how you'd like them to play.
I was just like, I always knew that I was just like, I'd really like a nature based character that like is very much just like, wants harmony for all, blah blah blah. And I was just like, well, logically speaking, have to go with an elf druid, don't I? If I'm gonna go for the full combo of nature lovers everywhere.
I mean, druid is like the most stereotypical, like, I am a lover of nature. Like the class for,
So, but I don't necessarily think that her background is very common. The idea that she just leaves, because I think druids tend to be part of clans and stick with clans.
Yes, for the most part, like usually they are part of like sects or groups. I'm not 100%. I know in like Pathfinder they're described that way, and it might be entirely different in like D&D and stuff like that. But from what I've kind of gathered, that does seem to be like the trope of it. So it kind of always relates somewhat to that.
But then I feel like the sort of background with the type of character I had for my halfling, it was very like sort of obvious it was going to happen, that they grew up on the streets, they were like a thief, they were abandoned, an orphan kid. It's just like, well, they were a halfling, so kind of makes sense. Ends up going into like a thieves guild sort of scenario, and then ends up on the ocean, like stealing cargo and distributing like illegal cargo and stuff, and building her way up the ranks that way. And she's just like, what's in it for me? Will this, how much is this going to cost me? Will I get money from this? How much are you going to offer me to do this for you, basically? Which is the opposite of my druid, who is just like, of course I'll help you for the sake of looking after everything. It's great.
Yeah. No, and I think that's like really cool that like you played two characters with pretty much like opposed ideas, essentially. Like they'll help out, one for the pure like love of helping, while the other one is like, no, I will do it, but I need the dosh.
Yeah. How much is the job worth? And I'll think about it. I feel like I'll probably maybe make another character eventually that will just refuse to help anybody. I think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I need to like. I want to sit on another idea. Like I have I need to make another character. Obviously, I do have another character that I don't want to mention because I'm going to use them for the campaign that you're making at the moment. But I do, now that I know that I'm going to use that character, it's like I've got the character creation urge. It's like I need to have a character on the shelf in case a campaign comes up in the future. And because the one that's currently on the shelf is going to be used, I need to make another one now.
I must have a backlog of characters ready at all times.
I don't know. Like another idea that's just come into my head is like a full on like religious fanatic style thing, but maybe not in a traditional sense. So not like a paladin or something.
Okay, but like religious fanatic, like what? A religious fanatic
Like a
thief?
full no, but like a fully devoted person to a god, but not in the case of like they're not a healer of any kind. They're not a priest. You know, they're not like a traditional like when you think of like somebody who likes religion, but not a priest, not a paladin, not a knight, not anything of a class where you would just assume those people would be religious. So I might sit on that idea as well, actually.
Okay, that does sound like a really neat one, where it's just like subvert the expectations, like they're a completely religious person, but they're not like the class that you normally see in those positions. Would you be thinking like thief, swashbuckler, or something like that?
Well, I already have a swashbuckler, so I don't know.
That is true.
Maybe I'm thinking something. I'll have to look into some classes and see what I can find.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
might even start doing it after the podcast.
Dangerous.
I'm
This
in the
podcast is a
mood
gateway drug.
now.
The podcast is just a gateway to getting people into doing things.
Hell yeah.
Remember, kids, you too can just make D&D characters for no reason whatsoever other than I had an idea.
I'm nodding a lot, just for those people that can't see.
Well, that's the best part. Is like probably every person ever has made an OC, and if you don't know what an OC is, it's essentially like an original character. So whether you like imagined yourself in in like a video game or in a how to describe it in like a video game or a book or a movie or a TV show, or imagined a character with that isn't you in those situations, like you've made an OC essentially. And like OCs are great. They're great ways to interact with like media in an unconventional way. It makes you think about a bunch of like stuff in the media, engage with it weirdly enough. Like I know think of like every person who like liked Harry Potter in high school and like to imagine like, oh, what house am I in? Essentially, you've made an OC. You've
Yes.
made an in-universe version of yourself that gets to engage with that stuff, and I think that's great. I think everyone should do that. It's a fun exercise in learning, and it's a fun exercise in like engaging with media, which I think not enough people do anymore. A lot of people, it's like I watched it and I never thought about it again, and that is also entirely fine. I'm not here to disparage you and be like, oh, everything you engage with must be a like large scale learning exercise about the futility of man or something. But I do think like engaging with it more and thinking about media more is really cool, and D&D kind of lets you do that because essentially you're playing a story that's being made up by a friend or another person, but then you're like engaging with it and being like, oh well, I want to learn more about the Duke, so I want to investigate that. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. So we look into it more, and all this stuff kind of happens, and it's really cool, and it's really good. And I think that's the best part of D&D and Pathfinder is that like it's media you get to engage with, similarly to a game. Like if you play any of the Fallout, Skyrims, or other like RPGs that have a lot of like decision based tree stuff, it feels you feel good when you engage with stuff, and it like rewards you in some way, which is I think the same way that like tabletop RPGs reward you, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I blathered on a little bit there, but like no, I love tabletop RPGs. There's like an infinite number of ways you can play them, engage with them, and do stuff, and I want more people to feel like they can do that kind of stuff.
Well, it's just a fun way of being imaginative and creative with a group of people, and it's not based on age or understanding of anything either. Like, it's also something that can be with friends, with family. Hell, I've seen stuff online of like a father running a D&D campaign for his two kids that look like they're under 10 years old. It's not
Yeah,
it's not something that's like, oh, it's just for the nerds, or it's just for like certain like people of a certain age, or like these people. It's like, no, it's for anybody that literally wants to play it. That's the
yeah,
that's the point.
yeah, exactly. No, I agree entirely, and especially if like one of the daunting things for like getting involved in, I'm gonna just say D&D because it's like the large one that most people, when you think tabletop RPG, you think D&D. Uh, is like the rules and the dice and the math. Like that can always be really daunting, but if you get people into it earlier, you can like instill that kind of like love for learning and like love for math into like the things you play. So like you said, a dad doing it for his kids, I wouldn't be surprised if those kids do really well in math later in life because they have like a love of learning and a love for doing math. They go, "Oh, well, what's your multiplications of this?" It's like, "Oh, well, 5d6 does this." It's like, "Oh yeah, you're a nerd."
Yep.
But like you'll have that love, and I think like also when people get afraid of like being wrong, it's okay to be wrong. Like don't take it as a bad thing. Like everybody learns. Because I know when people start playing D&D and like they get handed the rule book, I've known people who go like this is just too much. And I go like absolutely understandable that it is overwhelming and it's not necessarily new person adjacently friendly. But like you said, Baldur's Gate holds your hand a lot for it and is a really really good game and probably has gotten a lot of people into D&D just through the virtue of being like, "Oh, this game is it is D&D. I know that name and it is accessible and like it automates a bunch of the things that I was scared of. And now that I kind of know a bit more, maybe I'm willing to try and play these games now."
All for the love of creating something fun.
All for the love of being a huge nerd. Yeah, like I said, this episode doesn't have a lot of structure, but it is just I wanted an excuse to kind of gush about tabletop RPGs and talk with Meg about tabletop RPGs and hopefully inspire somebody in the audience to like give it a try. Uh, there's you can participate in D&D if you've got two friends and yourself. You can run a campaign. If you're concerned that somebody out there like you don't have anyone to run the campaign, be the person. Run the campaign. If you're worried you don't know the rules or it's tough or you're not great with math or stuff like that, don't worry about it. Learn some of the rules, and then if your players do something and you are not sure, make it up. If you tell them to roll the dice and you kind of just generally structure it around like their stat blocks, so they go, "Oh, well, I want to try and rip open this coconut to see if there's something inside," and you go, "Okay, I have no idea what the difficulty of a coconut is. Um, Roll me a nature check or a strength check," and then you in your mind you make up a number that you think is the difficulty of a coconut. You can just kind of ad lib, and it's a really good skill to have to ad lib. But if you don't have someone to DM and are worried, you can be the DM. Everyone can DM. It is not. I'm not going to pretend it's particularly easy, but like it's rewarding and fun to do. As Meg can attest, as she is now DM'd twice.
It starts off scary, but as long as you believe in yourself and you have some people that will help you out, it's all good. And there's always plenty of stuff online about help on doing stuff if you don't have friends. The community's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's Reddit forums, there's just regular online forums that have been around since like time immemorial. I remember when I was trying to help you, Meg, I was looking up some stuff, being like, okay, is there somewhere I can send her? And there was like forums from like 2005, and I'm like, these are still good. Like the resources are out there, and tabletop RPGs are great. Also, there's a tabletop RPG for anything. I've got one sitting here called Perfect Draw, and it is entirely designed around playing essentially Yu-Gi-Oh as a tabletop RPG.
Sounds
And
awesome. When do we start?
I have no idea how to play this online because you actually get to make your own deck for this game.
Awesome.
And just like Yu-Gi-Oh, you get to make one bullshit card.
I wonder if the deck making site still works. We could totally do this, Clay. This could work.
This could work. It's very funny. I love that the game just completely acknowledges like we're not a tabletop RPG about playing Yu-Gi-Oh. We're a tabletop RPG about playing Yu-Gi-Oh the anime. And it's like, oh, it's one of those like heart of the cards, heart of my ass kind of moments here. Like
sounds good to me.
Sounds pretty good. I mean, I have one that's been on the way for a while, but I have a like not Persona, but Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, the tabletop RPG, on the way.
Hell yeah!
Like, you can play as Jack Frost. There's a tabletop RPG for anything. Do you want to play in a horror movie? Mothership is really good for that. Do you want to play as an interdimensional skateboarding teen? Slug Blasters is pretty good. Do you want to play as a essentially like FBI agent investigating weird cult stuff? Delta Green is really good. Like, there's so many good. There's a system for anything. As I said earlier, do you like Phantasy Star? There's a Phantasy Star RPG. You can just play Phantasy Star. There's something for everything, and I would not be surprised if there was like a Pokemon one if you were into that too. Like, there's everything. Like, very creative people all over the world have been making tabletop RPGs forever. I have actually a small one that I've been playing. Not that I made. Jeez, I did not make anything. Called Rune. And it's a single-player RPG that just needs you to have like a 5x5 grid of paper in front of you. And you get to just like, you take actions and you roll some dice. And then there's like some combat. And that's it. It's very, very rules loose and very like, you just do this, and then this, and then this. And it's super fun. I would recommend it repeatedly. Looking at the time, we've been going for quite a while now.
We certainly have.
Well, I think before I continue talking about tabletop RPGs till you explode, my final recommendation is if you have YouTube, as I hope you do, because I know some of you listen to this podcast on YouTube, a channel I would recommend is called Quinn's Quest. He is a very funny man who reviews tabletop RPGs, especially several that I recommended here, and I got recommended to by this YouTube channel. It's called Quinn's Quest. It's great. It's very fun. I would always recommend Dimension 20 if you want to like watch some stuff. They have some of their old seasons on the like old College Humor, the Dropout channel. And yeah, do you have any other recommendations? Because I know Meg, you've been listening to, like you said, Murder She Rolled.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend the podcast Murder She Rolled. I do know another podcast that I haven't listened to just yet, but might be of some interest to anybody that enjoyed the actors from Baldur's Gate. I do know that Neil Newborn, who played Astarion, has started a podcast called D3, which I think is Dungeons, Dragons, and Drama, that he started with some people that he knows. I do know that they're on about doing a charity stream with him at some point as well, but I'm not sure when that's going to be. But yeah, just a couple of recommendations for listening to some D&D adventures, because sometimes just enjoying other people's is a way to help you get into playing it yourself. Sometimes it's helpful to go in with a sort of understanding of how other people that know what they're doing operate. It does help sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you again for letting me talk about tabletop RPGs, Meg.
No worries, anytime.
Anytime? That's dangerous. And I want to thank all of you for listening to this episode of Campus Podcast. I hope you guys come back and check it out again. Catch you later.
Hopefully we won't be as away for as long this time as we have been before. We'll be back to more regular podcasts. Unfortunately, timing's been not great. We're coming up to Christmas, so we'll
I was gonna
see.
say, like, we shouldn't make this promise by
we'll,
Christmas.
We'll see how we go for podcasts on the way up to Christmas. We'll do our best, guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and catch you later.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.